Why is California running out of water? This is not a question of whether or not the state of California is running out of water. It is indeed. But if you feel otherwise, you are free to let us know in the comments section. However, there has been enough proof that California is definitely running out of water. In Los Angeles, for example, anxiety is high about the looming dangers of drought. The question we are dealing with in this video is, why is California running out of water? This question is relevant because we are talking about the land of infinity pools with backyard putting greens. Some areas of the state have even been getting ample amounts of rain. Now, let us examine the possible reasons. The state of things. It has been very dry in California in the last few years. The state witnessed 3 driest years in a row on record. The drought inflicting the state has shown no signs of abating, according to the state's officials recently. If left unchecked, the continuation of this is setting the stage for catastrophic wildfires. Besides, the supply of water from its sources is being strained, and this would not be without its attendant conflict over water usage. The 2022 water year can be said to witness the state its record rainfall in October, while its driest months are January to March. Nevertheless, in this month of supposedly ample rainfall, it didn't get enough water. Experiences from different cities. To determine the real cause of this water scarcity in California, let's look at the situation in the state's major cities. Los Angeles. The talk about the dangers of drought has been on for decades in Los Angeles. Though it seems unbelievable that in this land of pools and backyard putting greens, such can be the situation in the land now better suited for rattlesnakes and scrubs. However, the pressure is coming from its need to support Southern California, which is currently suffering from biting water scarcity. Consequently, some parts of the city are now struggling. A good example is Palmdale. The aerospace hub in the Mojave Desert in the north of the state is now drawing water from snowmelt, which is off the San Gabriel Mountains. It taps directly into the state water project and pumps groundwater from there to supply its more than 120,000 residents. The Palmdale Water District, the source of water supply for the city, lacks enough storage with which it could bank water during wet years and depend on it during a drought, nor does it have enough money to increase its supply. In 2022, the desert city saw a considerably lower amount of water. Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley, the 3rd largest city in the state and the 10th largest in the country, aging dams and drought combined forces to devastate the water supply. Clara County is among the hardest hit by this drought in the Bay Area. Its storage in reservoirs has dropped by 74%. Supplies from the state and federal aqueducts have also dwindled far below expected levels. The city of San Jose saw less than half of its annual rainfall in 2022. The 2 million people in the city and nearby communities are already suffering because the largest reservoir in the area has been emptied. In Mendocino Country, water is much more precarious as it is isolated from state and federal aqueducts. The county residents have to rely on patchy aquifers and water stored in Lake Mendocino that is flowing into the Russian River. The census-designated place of about 1,000 residents known for its weed, wine, and wild coast was one of the first places where Gavin Newsom, the state governor, declared a drought emergency. The little Redwood Valley there, which normally gets a bountiful 38 inches of rain in a year and which is close to the headwaters of the Russian River, suffered a devastating drought in 2022. The real reasons. Let's look at this from a seemingly positive case of Southern California. Though it is more arid and better hydrated, it largely relies on imported water for more than 100 years for about 50% of the water flowing from the region's taps. Only half of its water supplies come from groundwater reserves and recycled sewage. Now, what happens if some of the areas are unable to supply as much as they should because they lack enough water for a moment? Will they be able to continue supplying the region? Reduced rainfall. Reduced rainfall in many places is the major reason why California is running out of water. In most places in the city, the year 2022 produced the worst drought. Lake Mendocino, for example, was at a record low of only 40% capacity in May. Owing to how things were going with the area's water supply, the county had an emergency session during which it was determined that its reservoir could run completely dry at the end of that year. Poor grasp of the crisis severity. A false sense of sufficiency also complicates the situation. California generally has been lulled into the idea that they have lots and lots of water. Really, they had lots and lots of water, and some parts of the state still do have it aplenty. So they seem not to appreciate the water-saving strategy and start storing what they saw as lots and lots of water. Despite the efforts of the state government to encourage just the opposite, Californians use more and more water than have been doing in 7 years. In March 2022, the water usage in the state was 19% more than that of March 2020 when the current drought began. That was the state's highest water consumption since 2015, despite the fact that its drying reservoirs are now at critically low levels, no thanks to the unrelenting drought, according to the State Water Resources Board. The urgency of the crisis is actually not breaking through Californians. This is because the dissemination of information about water conservation isn't consistent across different authorities and jurisdictions. Thus, the state residents don't have a clear idea of what is expected and what applies to whom. For instance, the idea of a 15% reduction is vague, and they don't have a clear and tangible grasp of what constitutes a such percentage of reduction with respect to their own usage. Climate change. You can't discuss the water crisis anywhere without recourse to climate change. Lamenting the terrible situation, County Supervisor Glenn McGordy explained to water officials across the region, "We're in a different world now because of climate change." He added that the problem in his county is based on its limited water storage in the face of this climate change. The climate crisis fueling this will worsen dry conditions and spur stronger storms, and this weather whiplash can only worsen in intensity and frequency as the planet warms, according to scientists. Spiking temperatures usually exacerbate and intensify droughts as they bake moisture out of landscapes. Meanwhile, it's during this time of heat that plants, animals, and people would require more moisture for adaptability to hot conditions. Bigger consumer warms the globe. Ironically, those contributing to climate change and global warming are the ones using large amounts. They're industries that are also churning out the most emissions into the atmosphere. The research director for Food and Water Watch, Amanda Starbuck, told CNN, "It's just a small sliver of the overall consumption. It's a much bigger problem, and we really need to start bringing in these big industries that are guzzling water during this time of drought." Global warming. Consequent to climate change, blistering heat waves, together with worsening drought and destructive wildfires, are doing no small harm in recent years. Kelsey Hinton, the director of communications for a group calling for affordable access to clean water, Community Water Center, expressed the belief that the more these images of climate crisis become vivid and play out, the more the state will have to prioritize the water needs of Californians over the industry. The greatest concern now is that during extremely dry conditions like these, the groundwater levels of the state sink while more water is pulled up for agriculture purposes and other uses. Official response to tackle it. Earlier, during the last drought in 2015, the state ordered its residents to cut their water use by 25%. But then, no statewide emergency was declared. There was neither a universal mandate nor standardized water waste rules. As said earlier, California Governor Gavin Newsom tried to reduce the water usage in the state as part of the drought emergency declared in response to the lingering water crisis. There have been measures also by different cities in the state to reduce water usage by various percentages. If you are a Californian or you know anything about their experience with this water crisis, please share your experience in the comment section below and let us all learn. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.